They say success has a formula. Go to the right schools, know the right people, follow the right path. But sometimes, the most revolutionary ideas don't come from boardrooms or laboratories. Sometimes they come from the back of a fast food restaurant, scribbled on a napkin by someone the world had completely written off. This is the story of Jake Morrison, a 24-year-old college dropout who flipped burgers for minimum wage while the world called him a failure. But Jake had something no MBA program could teach. He had a vision and one napkin sketch that would change everything. Before we get to how a burger flipper walked into Google headquarters and walked out with $80 million, we need to go back to the beginning, to the moment when Jake Morrison's entire world fell apart. 3 years earlier, Jake Morrison was exactly where he was supposed to be. Stanford University, computer science major, 3.8 GPA, a full-ride scholarship that his single mother had cried happy tears over. He was going to be the first person in his family to graduate college, the one who made it out, the success story his mom could brag about at her 2 jobs. But then, everything changed. It started in his junior year. His mom, Linda, got sick. Really sick. Stage 3 breast cancer. The medical bills started piling up. Insurance covered some, but not nearly enough. Jake tried to balance it all, classes, hospital visits, part-time work, but something had to give. His grades started slipping. Not by much at first. A B here, a C there, but at Stanford that was enough. Then came the real blow. His mom needed experimental treatment. $180,000, not covered by insurance. The doctors said it could save her life, but they needed to start immediately. Jake looked at his scholarship, his classes, his future, and he made a choice. He dropped out, took out every loan he could, maxed out credit cards, sold everything he owned, and paid for his mother's treatment. It worked. The treatment saved her life, but it destroyed his. At 21 years old, Jake Morrison was $200,000 in debt, with no degree, no job prospects, and a resume that screamed quitter to every employer who saw it. 6 months later, he was wearing a paper hat and a name tag that said Jake at Burger Haven on El Camino Real in Palo Alto, the same street where he used to walk to class at Stanford. Every day he'd see his former classmates walking past the window, laughing, talking about internships at Google, Facebook, Apple, living the life he was supposed to have. And Jake? He flipped burgers, $15 an hour, 50 hours a week, barely enough to make minimum payments on his crushing debt. His manager, Derek, was 19, 2 years younger than Jake, a high school dropout who loved reminding everyone he was in charge. "Hey, college boy," Derek would shout across the kitchen. "Those fries aren't going to cook themselves. What did they teach you at Stanford? How to be slow?" The other workers would laugh. Not meanly, just uncomfortable. Because what else do you do when your boss humiliates someone? Jake learned to keep his head down, to stay quiet, to be invisible. But here's the thing about being invisible in a fast food kitchen. You see everything. And Jake was about to see something that would change his life forever. It started during the lunch rush on a Tuesday. Burger Haven was packed, lines out the door, every register open. The kitchen was chaos. Burgers flying, fries dumping, ice cream machines breaking down for the 3rd time that week. Jake was on his break, sitting in the back corner when he noticed something. The mobile order system was a disaster. Customers would order on their phones, show up expecting their food to be ready, but the kitchen had no idea the order existed until they asked about it. Then chaos. Angry customers, remade orders, wasted food. But it wasn't just Burger Haven. Jake started paying attention during his shifts, on his way to work. Every fast food place had the same problem. Mobile orders were supposed to make things easier, but they were making everything worse. The existing systems, the ones built by billion-dollar companies, were treating mobile orders like regular orders, just digital. They were missing the entire point. One night, after a particularly brutal shift, Jake was wiping down tables when he grabbed a napkin and a pen. He started sketching, not because he had some master plan, not because he thought he'd solve anything, just because his brain wouldn't shut up about the problem. What if mobile orders weren't treated like regular orders at all? What if the system could predict when customers would arrive based on their location, route orders to specific stations based on real-time kitchen capacity, adjust cooking times based on traffic patterns? What if you could eliminate wait times completely? Jake filled that napkin with diagrams, flowcharts, algorithms. The kind of thinking that got him a scholarship to Stanford in the first place. When he finished, he looked at what he'd drawn. It was beautiful, elegant, and it would revolutionize the entire fast food industry. He folded the napkin, put it in his pocket, and went back to mopping floors. Because what was he going to do with it? He was a college dropout with debt and a job that paid minimum wage. Nobody was going to listen to him, but Jake couldn't let it go. He started refining the idea during slow hours. More napkins, more sketches. He'd studied computer science for 3 years before dropping out. He knew how to code. He knew how to build systems. What if he could actually make this work? He started building a prototype. Nothing fancy, just a basic app he coded on his phone during breaks and after his mom fell asleep at night. 3 months later, he had something functional. A mobile ordering system that used GPS tracking to predict arrival times, AI to optimize kitchen workflow, and predictive algorithms to prepare orders before customers even walked in the door. He tested it on himself, ordered food from other restaurants while he was at work, tracked how long it took, where the system failed, how his solution would fix it. The data was undeniable. His system could reduce wait times by 73%, cut food waste by 41%, increase customer satisfaction ratings by 89%. It was revolutionary, and nobody knew it existed. Jake tried pitching it to his manager first. "Derek, I built something that could help us. A better mobile ordering system. Want to see?" Derek looked up from his phone. "Did I ask you to build something, college boy? Your job is fries, not whatever this is. Get back to work." He tried corporate, sent emails to Burger Haven's headquarters, to their IT department, to anyone who would listen. Every email bounced back with the same automated response. "Thank you for your interest. We are not accepting unsolicited proposals at this time." He tried other restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Five Guys. Nothing. Radio silence. Because who's going to listen to a burger flipper with no degree and no credentials? Jake started to believe what everyone else already thought. Maybe he was a failure. Maybe dropping out really had destroyed his future. Maybe this was his life now, forever. But then something happened that Jake didn't expect. Someone was watching. Her name was Dr. Sarah Chen. She was 34, a former Google engineer who'd left to start her own venture capital firm focused on unconventional founders, people the traditional tech world overlooked. And she ate lunch at Burger Haven every Tuesday. Not because the food was great, but because it was close to her office and she could knock out emails while she ate. Sarah had noticed Jake before, the guy who was clearly overqualified for his job, who moved with efficiency, who seemed to be thinking, always thinking. One Tuesday, she saw him in the corner during his break, sketching on napkins, his face intense, focused, curious. She walked over. "Excuse me," she said. "I'm probably overstepping, but what are you working on?" Jake looked up, startled. He almost hid the napkins. Almost said nothing. But something about her face, genuine curiosity, no judgment, made him pause. It's probably stupid," he said. "Just an idea for a better mobile ordering system." "Can I see?" He hesitated, then slid the napkin across the table. Sarah looked at it for exactly 15 seconds, then looked up at Jake with an expression he hadn't seen in years. Respect. "This is brilliant," she said. "Have you built a prototype?" "Yeah, I have a working demo on my phone, but nobody wants to see it because Because you what?" "Because I'm a college dropout flipping burgers. Nobody takes me seriously." Sarah smiled, a real smile. "I'm a Stanford dropout who got fired from Google for insubordination. Want to know what I'm worth now?" "How much?" $340 million. Jake's jaw dropped. "Listen," Sarah continued, "I eat here every Tuesday. I've watched you work. You're not like the others. You're solving problems in your head while you're making fries. I know that look because I used to have it." She pulled out a business card. Simple, clean, just a name and a number. Sarah Chen, founder, Chen Ventures. I invest in people, not pedigrees. If you're serious about this, call me. I want to see the full demo. She stood up, grabbed her bag. Oh, and Jake. She'd already learned his name from the name tag. The world doesn't care where you came from. It only cares where you're going. She left. Jake stared at the business card for the rest of his shift. He called her that night. 2 days later, he was sitting in her office, a converted warehouse in downtown Palo Alto, with his phone hooked up to a projector, while showing his prototype to 5 people he'd never met. Sarah, 2 other venture capitalists, a former McDonald's operations director, and a software architect from DoorDash. Jake's hands were shaking, his voice cracked twice, but his demo was flawless. When he finished, there was silence. The McDonald's director spoke first. "This would have saved my old company $400 million a year. Minimum." The DoorDash architect leaned forward. "The predictive arrival algorithm alone is worth tens of millions. How did you build this by yourself?" I couldn't sleep, so I just kept coding." Sarah smiled. She'd seen enough. "Jake, we want to invest. $2 million, 15% equity. We'll help you build a team, get patents, and pitch to major restaurant chains." Jake couldn't speak. $2 million? It's for napkin sketches and an app he built during burger breaks. "There's just one condition," Sarah added. "What?" "You need to quit Burger Haven today. This is your full-time job now. Deal?" Jake called his manager from the parking lot. "Derek, it's Jake. I'm not coming back." "What? You can't just quit without 2 weeks. I got a better offer, $2 million better. Thanks for the opportunity." He hung up. For the first time in 3 years, Jake Morrison smiled. But this was just the beginning, because getting investment is one thing. Selling your idea to Google, that's another level entirely. The next 6 months were a blur. With Sarah's investment and guidance, Jake built a real company, Orderflow AI. He hired a team, 3 engineers, 1 designer, a business development director who used to work at Uber. They refined the prototype, applied for patents, tested the system with small restaurant chains. The results were staggering. A regional burger chain in Texas saw wait times drop by 68% in 2 weeks. Customer satisfaction scores jumped 47%. Revenue increased 23% because happy customers ordered more. Word started spreading in the industry. And then the call came. Google. Google had been developing their own restaurant technology division. They'd spent 3 years and $50 million building a system that wasn't working. They'd heard about Orderflow AI, about the Dropout who'd built something in 6 months that they couldn't build in 3 years. They wanted a meeting. Jake flew to Mountain View with Sarah. They walked into Google's headquarters, the same building where his Stanford classmates were probably working as interns. The irony wasn't lost on him. They were led to a conference room, glass walls, minimalist design, a long table with 12 Google executives and engineers. At the head of the table sat Marcus Webb, VP of Google's Restaurant Tech Division, Stanford MBA, 20 years at Google. Everything Jake wasn't. "Mr. Morrison," Marcus said, not standing, "we've heard interesting things about your application. We're curious why you think it's worth our time." Jake noticed the tone, skeptical, almost dismissive. Sarah shot him a look. "You got this." Jake opened his laptop, connected to the projector. "Respectfully, Mr. Webb, I don't think it's worth your time." The room went silent. "I think it's worth your business. Let me show you why." For the next 30 minutes, Jake walked them through everything. The problem: current mobile ordering systems treat digital orders like physical orders. Wrong approach. The solution: predictive AI that treats each order as a unique event with variables like location, traffic, kitchen capacity, historical patterns. The proof: real data from real restaurants showing real results. He showed them the napkin, the original sketch, the one he'd drawn on his break at Burger Haven. This is where it started, not in a lab, not in a boardroom. In the back of a fast food restaurant where I could see the problem every single day. He pulled up side-by-side comparisons. Google's system versus Orderflow AI. Google's system, 12-minute average wait time, 34% customer satisfaction, 18% food waste. Orderflow AI, 3-minute average wait time, 89% customer satisfaction, 7% food waste. Your system is built by people who've never worked in a restaurant. Mine is built by someone who lived in one. Marcus Webb leaned back in his chair. His expression had changed. The skepticism was gone. "What are you asking for?" "I'm not asking for anything. You called me. But if you want to acquire Orderflow AI, here's the number." Jake wrote on a whiteboard. $80 million? Someone in the room laughed. Actually laughed. "You think a 6-month-old startup with no revenue is worth $80 million? Jake didn't blink. I think the technology that will power mobile ordering for every restaurant in America is worth a lot more than $80 million, but I'm willing to be reasonable." Sarah smiled. She'd taught him well. Marcus Webb stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the Google campus. "Give us 24 hours. Jake didn't sleep that night. He sat in his apartment, the same cramped studio he'd been living in since dropping out, staring at his phone. What if they said no? What if he'd overplayed his hand? What if this was his only shot and he'd blown it? His mom called. "Honey, how'd the meeting go?" "I don't know, Mom. I asked for a lot of money, maybe too much." "Jake, let me tell you something. When I got sick, you gave up everything to save me. You didn't ask if it was too much. You didn't wonder if you could. You just did it. You've always underestimated yourself, but I never have. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you." Jake's voice cracked. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby. Now get some sleep." The call came at 8 a.m. "Sarah, they want to meet. Today, noon. Google headquarters. And bring a lawyer. We're signing papers." At noon, Jake walked back into Google. Same conference room, same people. But everything was different. Marcus Webb stood this time, extended his hand. "Mr. Morrison, we've reviewed your technology with our engineering team. We've run the numbers. We agree." "Agree with what?" $80 million? Cash. We acquire OrderFlow AI, all patents and all technology. You'll stay on as Director of Restaurant Technology for 3 years. Salary, $400,000 a year, plus stock options. Jake looked at Sarah. She nodded. He looked at the contract. The number, $80 million. He thought about his mom, the debt, the apartment, the paper hat at Burger Haven. He thought about Derek, his teenage manager who called him college boy. He thought about every person who looked at him with pity when he said he was a dropout. And then he signed. The room erupted in handshakes and congratulations. But Jake just stood there, holding the pen, trying not to cry. 3 weeks later, Jake paid off every penny of his debt. He bought his mom a house. Nothing crazy, just a small 3-bedroom in a safe neighborhood with a garden because she'd always wanted one. He donated $5 million to Stanford's scholarship fund, specifically for students who had to drop out due to family emergencies. And he kept the napkin, the one with the original sketch. He had it framed and hung in his new office at Google. Under it, a small plaque. "Ideas don't care where you came from. They only care where you're going." A year later, Jake was back at Burger Haven, not as an employee, as a customer. Derek was still there, still managing, still 20 years old. "Can I help you?" Derek asked, not recognizing him. "Yeah, I'll take a burger. And hey, do you have a napkin?" Derek handed him one. Jake smiled. "Thanks. You never know when inspiration might strike." He left a $1,000 tip on a $12 order because he remembered what it was like. Today, OrderFlow AI powers mobile ordering for over 45,000 restaurants across North America. It's reduced collective wait times by over 2 billion minutes per year. And it all started with a napkin sketch by a guy flipping burgers, who everyone had written off. Jake Morrison was a dropout, a burger flipper, a failure in the eyes of everyone who judged by credentials instead of capability. But he had something no degree could teach. He had vision, he had resilience, and he refused to believe that his past defined his future. They laughed at the dropout flipping burgers until his napkin sketch sold to Google for $80 million and changed the fast food industry forever.